Time to give the 69 some love. So those of you guys who were here for the last video on the 69, I tackled a big project, which was making a custom dash bezel for the Holley 12.3 inch digital dash. So that's in. And before that, before winter and snow started flying, got this thing, took it on its first drive, which was a huge milestone, but realistically only have like 4 to 5 miles on this entire setup and maybe 6 miles on the entire car since I bought it a year and a half ago. So very little driving time in this thing, but it's a rainy, cold fall day today. I think it's gonna be like this for the next couple days. So obviously don't want to take the car out right now. So I'm going to capitalize on that and install some suspension goodies that I've been wanting to install basically since I completed the project. So let's get those out and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Actually, take that back. Let's get the car up in the air first and then I can show you what we need and why we need it, and then I'll show you what I actually bought. It'll make more sense that way. Car is up in the air. You guys already know what's under here. I got our LS3 T56 6-speed custom 3-inch stainless exhaust. But the reason that I wanted to show you this is most of you guys probably already know, but maybe some of you don't. But a lot of older cars, and the first gen Camaro included, is what's called a unibody car. So you can see, for example, on the driver's side here, you got the driver's side frame rail comes down from the rear wheel, and then it basically just ends right here. Then you got the floor, then you got what's called the front subframe that goes all the way up, to the front of the car, basically to the radiator. So these are what are called unibody cars, meaning the floor that you see right here in this area on both sides and the transmission tunnel and all that is basically what's holding the front half of the car to the back of the car. I mean, that was all good and fine back in 1969 when this thing left the factory with anywhere between 100 and 300-ish horsepower. Probably wasn't okay for the 300 horsepower ones, but Chevy didn't really know or didn't really care. But anyways, this car now has like over 500 horsepower, or right around there, with a cammed full bolt-on LS3 in this configuration. We're 500 horsepower probably all day. Significantly more than the factory, and it should have had a stronger frame from the factory. So they make a product for many different cars, including these ones, called subframe connectors. And as the name implies, it's going to connect the rear subframe to the front subframe and basically make it a full frame car. So that's what we've got over here. So let's check them out. So these are the subframe connectors I went with. The brand is Helix, as you can see over there. I think a lot of brands are just kind of copies of each other. It's not really rocket science. Like I said, you're basically just some steel tubing that's going to connect the front subframe to the rear subframe. In reality, the best way to do this is to weld in some subframe connectors, and Detroit Speed, for example, makes a really nice kit that you basically come in right here, welds to right here, then goes through the floorboard and then welds to back here, which is going to be your strongest option. Some other ones are kind of a combination of bolt in, weld in. The reason that I didn't do weld in is because eventually I'd like to do mini tubs on this car, and I want to do weld-in subframe connectors as well. But it's springtime here. I want to get driving the car. I don't want to just dive into a full fabrication project of mini tubs and subframe connectors and then have it carry on for months and not be able to drive this thing. So for now, bolt-in subframe connectors will be just fine. So yeah, this kit is bolt-in. That's pretty much how the box showed up, so that was neat. I've already confirmed that I'm missing some hardware because, again, this was open and the box was barely there. So I guess I'm lucky that I even got this much, but we'll figure it out. I think this is all pretty standard hardware that we could probably get at the store if we need to. Also, while, I'm known for this now, I guess, but the while you're in there things, these are body mounts, poly, performance body mounts. This car was just restored, so I assume that most of these body mounts are in decent condition, and they appear to be, but you're going to be adding a whole bunch of stiffness to the frame. You're just going to lose it all in these rubber body mounts, so I think I'm going to do these while I'm at it. While I'm at it. But let me show you how these go in. Just a quick mock-up. Basically, front one is going to go in something like that. Then the rear kind of goes in, slides into that pocket right there. Something like that. But yeah, hopefully a relatively easy install, and we can stiffen up this chassis and feel better about doing, 6,000 RPM clutch dumps and rolling burnouts and banging gears, and not have to worry about, the body warping to the point that the doors don't close or the windshield cracks, both of which can happen in these older cars if you don't do stuff like this. So one of those things I've been wanting to do to make sure that we keep the body in good shape and add some structural strength to the car. All that being said, let's get to work, see if we can't get these subframe connectors in. Why does every project make such a mess? Subframe connectors are in and body mounts are in. It was a little bit of a fight, but not too bad. Let me show you what we got done. So yeah, pretty standard subframe connector. There's your front subframe there. I got the connector, goes all the way back to here, bolts into the leaf spring mount, and then I had to drill through the frame all the way through the leaf spring pocket, added a spacer, and now it's bolted through there. Cleared my fuel lines, which I was a little bit worried about, so got those tucked up nice, good to go. Same thing on this side. Did have to just grind out the holes on the this side of the subframe connector just a little bit. I mean, these cars are 60 years old, and this thing's had at least a floor put in it. And I got the cheapest subframe connectors I could find on eBay. So overall, just having to grind out the hole a little bit so that it fit more snug in the subframe or in the front subframe area, I'm okay with that. But yeah, bolted through the frame back here and then bolted into the leaf spring hanger area. clearance through the floorboards, nice thick box steel all the way up through here, sandwiched between the body mount and the subframe, and then bolted through here, 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 and here. So should be much, much stronger. I feel much better about beating the crap out of this thing and not having to worry about, you know, panels getting misaligned and cracking windshields and this and that. Unfortunately, had to take a lot of this stuff apart to get my drill in there. I got the entire exhaust down on the ground, minus the tailpipes over there. And we made a big mess, but that's all right. Brand new body mounts in the 6 locations, 3 per side, one here, one there, and even up here by the radiator support up there. So good to go. So that's done. But unfortunately, I found something else that's gonna add to this project a little bit. Maybe a lot of it, I don't know. But I can't, in good conscience, overlook it. So obviously this car has the RideTech 4-link. Super nice setup. This side looks good where it mounts to the frame. While I was over here, I noticed something. Maybe you guys can see this. So I took the wheel off so you guys can see. It's not supposed to look like that. So like I said, the other side is fine, and it's bolted through this side. Right, yeah, you see all those bolted through the frame there, and that's all good and fine, but I saw this and I just don't like it. So I emailed RideTech, and it turns out, as you would expect, there's supposed to be rivnuts through the frame, whereas it looks like whoever installed this just literally took the bolts and drove them into the steel. You can see the steel is pulling down. So it's looking like we're gonna have to drop the whole rear end in the 4-link. Like I said, it'd probably be fine, but I can't just look at that and know that it's there. So RideTech was nice enough to provide me with the size of the rivnuts that they use. And I got a Rivnut Tool that I'm going to use. So I think what I'm going to do right now is clean up this giant mess, or kind of clean up just to get reorganized. Then I'm going to drop this 4-link down, remove the cradle, install the rivnuts here, 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 and here, and then just put it all back together. And then hopefully, maybe if we got time, we can take this thing out for a drive. It might be a couple days at this point, but it's got to get done. So let's get to work. Let's get cleaned up. Get started on this next phase of the project here. Delete kit. Got the 10 bolt out. Got it chilling on some furniture dollies right now. Not too bad. Just the 4-link connections, shock mounts, brake lines, e-brakes, and wrestled that thing out of there. Lifted the car up. So this is what we're dealing with. Here's the RideTech cage, if you will, or mounting bracket. I don't know what you want to call this thing. You can see it's bolted all in on the frame rail here on underside. Same thing over here. This whole side looks fine. It's that's concerning me, which, like I said, it's bolted through on the other side. It's probably fine, but I just wanted to check this thing out for peace of mind. Other than that, everything looks pretty good. You can see, got my fuel lines that we did last winter, routed up through there. Shouldn't have to touch any of that. So I should just have to unbolt. I believe there's 9 on this side, a few up here, 9 more on this side. Should just zip those out, pull this whole thing down. And hopefully we'll see if they used any riv nuts at all in the rest of the installation. Maybe they just didn't use them here, I'm not sure. But get those repaired. Here's a tool I bought. I have a little riv nut, or screw nut gun, if you will, but this is the big boy. If you guys are interested, I'll leave a link in the description to this tool. Also bought the correct size riv nuts, which in this case is 3/8/16. So we should be able to fire these into the frame and get this thing secured correctly. So let's do that. Let's pull this mounting cage down, insert riv nuts where we need to, get it all back together. Morning. Next day here, and got the 4-link subframe out. So got that on the ground here, and I gotta say, I'm glad that I'm doing this. It's a little even worse than I expected. So to recap, over here, get a better look at it. This is where all the mounting points were basically pulling out of the frame, and that looked like the worst spot, and it pretty much is, but they didn't use riv nuts anywhere. And this is where the front of the subframe connects to the pinch weld here, where the trunk floor kind of connects to the main floor. And you can see it's just pulling through the metal. You can see it's through bolted. The washer on the other side is pulling through right here. So this was not installed at all correctly. And I don't know why the person who installed this didn't use riv nuts. They would have been included in the Ride Tech kit, as well as a Rivnut Tool. It's not as nice as the one I have, but he could have got it done. But whoever did this, and I think I figured it out, whoever did this just thought it would be easier to use, you know, just through bolt to the metal, which is obviously not gonna work. It's a frame rail. It's a 1/16 of an inch thick. It's not gonna work, but check this out. Here's the bolts they used, and if you look really close, they ground in little notches there, almost like they were trying to make this like a tap, so that they could go into the frame rail and it would kind of cut its own threads and then hold. Which, you know, would work for you know, it kind of works, see? Yeah, it threads in there, that's okay, but there's no strength there, like that wouldn't hold anything. And that's how this entire thing was bolted in. Not the right way to do it. Like I said, the thing was solid in there, but I wouldn't have trusted any power. This is what holds the entire rear end and the rear suspension of the car. If this thing falls out, you're going down the road like that with your wheels behind you and probably messed up quarter panel and a whole bunch of other damage and God knows what else. So bottom line, your rear subframe needs to be secured to the frame rails. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna install this the correct way. So I did a couple practice ones just last night. So just in case you guys don't know, this is what the riv nut looks like. Basically, we're gonna over-drill these holes to, I think, 9/16 or something like that. You insert this riv nut, and once it's inserted in the hole, you kind of suck it down with the tool and pull it down on top of itself. And then the sheet metal of the frame rail is sandwiched between the top and the bottom here. The whole thing kind of collapses in this knurled area right there. And the pull-out strength on one of these, I think I read on the spec sheet, is like over 3,000 pounds. Obviously depending on the thickness of the metal. But you go from something like this, which is the correct way to do it, to basically just cutting your own threads into, you know, 16th inch metal, and that's what happens. It's just gonna pull right through. Not a good idea. So just to show you guys what it looks like, I did a couple practice ones here last night. Those are fully seated, fully in. You can see how nice that looks. Got some nice threads in there, and on the other side you've got the sandwiched part that's kind of clamping on that frame. 9 on this side, 9 on this side, and then up here there's supposed to be a backing plate on the other side under the rear seat that basically sandwiches this area, and there was none of that, which is why that's pulling through. So I think I'm also gonna dig through my steel scrap pile, see if I can't find a little sheet there, and make my own backing plate. And we're gonna get this thing in there nice and solid. So I've got a whole bunch of drilling to do with my step bit here. I've got 9/16 marked there, so I know. So I'm gonna drill out all these holes, insert 16 more Rivnuts. Gotta run to the hardware store, get the right grade 8 hardware to install this thing, and we'll get this thing installed the right way. And we'll feel a lot more confident we can beat on this thing without the whole rear end falling out. So glad I saw this. But anyways, let's get to work, get this rear subframe mounted correctly, get the whole rear end back in, and we'll go from there. closing daylight fast, and I can't wait. So we'll see how good of a job we did here. Ooh. Need some tuning. Needs a lot of tuning. So good. Car feels good. It's getting dark out, and I'm going to be late for dinner, so I better get back to the house. So let's get back there, and I'll check in with you guys in a second. Woo! Is it all worth it? Next day, got a little bit more daylight. Let's go put some miles on this thing. First stop, let's go get some gas. I think the gas gauge is reading about 50%, which seems like it should be accurate, but let's go fill it up, see if it reads 100, see if I did the calibration right. Sixth, it's actually pretty quiet. Cruising 60 right now, no hands on the wheel. So far so good. Let's put some miles on this thing. Sounds so good. Single red light on this stretch of road tonight. Temps are staying cool though, so that's good. It's a beautiful night. Can't complain too much. But yeah, fuel level's showing 100%. Just filled her up, so I guess I calibrated these fuel gauge right. Everyone that sees this car smiles. First smiles right here. We got 4.8 miles on this brand new mill. See what happens. Might as well. Wide open, not too loud. I'll take it. I will take it. Well guys, I don't think I could have asked for that test drive to go any better. Put some fuel in this thing, put some miles on it, took it up on the highway up to 80 miles an hour, and it behaved absolutely perfectly. Suspension felt nice and tight, no clunks, no knocks, no weird noises, no binding of any suspension components that I could tell. Pulling out of the gas station, the whole car kind of had to do a three-wheel thing because there was a big dip I didn't see. So that's a perfect test of those subframe connectors. Everything felt super solid. Reset the odometer. I've got my brand new, to me, 1969 Camaro with, I think I got 13 miles on it now. Got the dash configured the way I want, and everything is going really well with this car. So even though I got to put like a mile or two on it before spring, or last fall, I'm calling that the first successful test drive. And I can't wait to start racking miles up on this thing. And I've already got tons of parts lined up for this thing as far as, you know what, I'm not gonna give it away, but I got more parts for this thing. Still got a lot more to do, but I'm gonna start driving this thing. Gonna bring you guys along for the ride too. Got a lot done in this video. That's gonna do it for this one. I promise we got a video coming on the yellow Cobra over there. She's hanging out, don't worry, you haven't missed anything. More stuff coming on the 69 Camaro and lots more new stuff too. So thank you guys as always for watching. If you enjoy this type of content, consider subscribing, give the video a thumbs up. See you in the next one.